Hello, friends. Hello, friends. We're going to get started here shortly. If I could get the faculty to come on in and everybody to start getting their seats. I'm going to turn this over in just a moment to our hosts, Professor Mims and Professor Concession. Is that correct? Okay. Sorry, Concession. Before we get started on the graduation, I want to make sure we thank our sponsors. This event, the Lavender graduation, is sponsored by MTSU's College of Behavioral and Health Sciences, and also Nissan, TVA, the MTSU Office of Institutional Equity and Compliance, Connect, and the Tennessee Human Rights Commission. So thanks to all of our sponsors for making today possible, this graduation possible. And I'm going to turn it over to our two professors.
Hi, I'm LaShonda Mims, and I am really, I like it when people just cheer because I said my name. This should be way more relaxed than it feels, but it's our first, so bear with us. Sometime in the fall, we had a meeting of queer adjacent and super queer staff and faculty, and I asked, do we have a Lavender graduation here? And now I seem to be doing Lavender graduation thanks to Dr. Will Langston, who is always on board for queering up anything. And I deeply appreciate that. I was involved in a Lavender graduation at another university a few years ago, and it was a delight. So I'm excited about many, many more years of what LavGrad can become here. So thank you, Will, for making this conference happen for, what is this, 12 years? 10? So amazing. And I think this is what made me think we already had one here. And I'm in my third year at MTSU. And of course, coming during a pandemic meant that I wasn't really clear about what happened here or who was who. So thank you to Will and to all the conference team for hosting us. And thank you to the faculty and administration folks and all of you who came to support our fearless graduate. There will be many more who will join us, but we are learning, and we are a small but mighty team this year. So I want to talk a little bit about what will happen. Dr. Concession, who is down front, is deeply responsible for the structure of this. I'm the one who was like, it'll be fine. But we actually have a plan thanks to Dr. Concession. So in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues in the administration. That's how I talk about you. I'm like, the administration. Of course. Administrators I like. Whoops, did I say that? Are we recording this? Okay. Anyway, so I'll turn it over to them to tell you what's going on. And then we have a couple of wonderful featured speakers today. And one of the traditions in Lavender Grad is that whoever graduates gets to pick a faculty member or an inspiring person on campus to celebrate them. And so we will establish that tradition here today. I just want to take 1 minute to say a little bit about the importance of lavender in Lavender graduation. I'm a historian, so I have to do history things and let you know that lavender has a long tradition of being associated with queerness. It's not surprising that it often kind of flies under the radar. Lots of people don't know why or how it happens, but it started life supposedly as a color of desire. The 7th century poet Sappho, whose papyrus fragments told her of these erotic predilections for women with, quote, violet tiaras. So fast forward a few centuries, and by the 1920s, violets were still drawing together members of the lesbian community who gifted delicate flowers as an expression of sapphic interest and desire. By the late 1960s, the color came to symbolize empowerment, lavender sashes and armbands, which are also associated with women fighting for the right to vote. By the late 60s and on the heels of Stonewall, were distributed these sashes to a gay power march from Stonewall Inn to New York. This was in 69, predating the actual first Pride celebrations. The National Organization for Women founder, Betty Friedan, famously denounced lesbians as part of the National Organization for Women, calling them a lavender menace. And then guess what? All the ladies made shirts. And the lesbians stormed the stage at the next gathering of the National Organization for Women in what they called a Zap Action in their Lavender Menace t-shirts to demand recognition as women and as lesbians. So they kickstarted this conversation on the very topic that Friedan had struggled to suppress, which was lesbianism. So throughout history, there are these endless references to subversive possibilities, allowing LGBTQ people to express the full range of their humanity. And today we celebrate the first Lavender graduation that began in the mid-90s at the University of Michigan by a Jewish lesbian who wanted to recognize and celebrate not just what it means to finish years of college and reach that triumphant moment, but to do that as a queer human and encountering all of the varieties of ways in which one must overcome obstacles, come out to family and friends or not, and come of age in their own identities. So we're happy to continue the tradition. I looked last night, I think the fourth university in the Tennessee State Public system. We join ETSU, UT Knoxville, and of course I'm forgetting who else. This is why you always bring good notes. No, Memphis doesn't have one. I did a deep dive last night. I think there's 3 others. So happy to be joining the line of other Tennessee public state institutions, especially in a year where queer folks have been so attacked and undervalued in our state. So I'll turn it over to my colleagues to move the ceremony forward. Please, Dr. Sanford, Dr.
That's okay. So my name is Mary Hofschwelle, and I serve as Associate Provost for Strategic Planning and Partnerships here at MTSU. I want to thank Michelle and LaShonda for inviting me to be part of this ceremony. And I particularly appreciate the note that Michelle provided for me to talk about being part of a support network and a witness to what has happened here at MTSU. And that was very much along the lines that I was thinking. First of all, though, thank you for considering me a part of a support network here for LGBTQ plus members of the MTSU community. And I have been a witness for the past 31 years of what has happened at MTSU. So when I arrived in the fall of '92, Lambda already existed. It had been founded in 1988. But a few years later began a big campaign, a very important campaign, to add sexual orientation to MTSU's non-discrimination statement. And that was a lengthy multi-year campaign. As you can read about it in the history of Lambda, the tireless work that was done. And it inspired me to think of a few names that I'd just like to call out of people who were very important in those years. And especially for LaShonda as a new member of the history department, relatively new, I thought I want to talk about history people that I had the honor to work alongside. Folks like Jim Williams, Bill Turner, and then Marissa Richmond and Pippi Holloway. Well, I was also part of the Women's and Gender Studies program for my many years as a member of the history department, and part of the conversation that transpired to turn women's studies into women's and gender studies. And I won't rehash any of those conversations. I'll spare you those, but there are some great supporters there, folks like Elise Helford and Vicki McLean. And I wanted to call some of those folks out because I knew, Roberta, you would be here and Amy carrying on that tradition. So in addition to watching those campaigns, I was thinking about the all-gender restroom facilities we now have across our campus. How many years did that take, Dr. Langston? Yes, but I also remember that that was just being instituted at the time that the state legislature took aim at UTK for Sex Week, shut down all of their discussions of equity, gender identity, sexual expression, and went after their restrooms. And I was at a meeting of the President's Commission on the Status of Women where somebody asked, hey, Dr. McPhee, what are we going to do? They're going to come after us on our restrooms. And Dr. McPhee said, no, we're not going to change a thing. And just went on. I was really pleased by that. So that watching all of those developments has been really important to me. And today we're at another milestone for MTSU. And so I want to thank our graduates for being our milestone. This is, I hope, the beginning of a wonderful tradition. Thank you for saying Lavender graduation, LaShonda, and encouraging us all to do this. Thank you. And now I'll introduce my colleague, Amy Aldridge Sanford.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Amy Aldridge Sanford. I use the pronouns she and her, and I am the Vice Provost for Academic Programs. I just want to thank everyone in attendance today because your attendance matters. And we just want folks to see that we love the LGBTQIA+ community here at MTSU and that we have friends and support. So thank you for being here. I also want to recognize we do have a dean in the room who's also would be considered part of the provost staff. So Dean Beverly Keel is here in the front row. I just want to recognize her. So I've only been here for the past about 14 months, 3 days, 5 hours. No, it's not, I don't have it that drilled down, but I've been here about 14 months. And in that time, I've had the honor of actually overseeing the commencement ceremonies. And so when students get ready to cross the stage, I am typically the last person who looks them over and begs them not to dance across the stage. That's my job. When I see them like doing this stuff and I'm like, you're not going to dance, are you? No, ma'am. Then they do it. But I have seen all kinds of stoles and chords in that time because here at MTSU, we don't really govern that as heavily as some other places do, which I'm fine with because students get to really show us who they are in an external sort of way. And it also gives great pride to their family and visitors who come with them. So I've seen everything. I've seen representations of ethnicity and race. I've seen representations of school clubs and what your grade point average might be. I don't know where they got the chords, but whatever. And now we're going to see a visual representation of Lavender with our graduates, which I think is really important. And I'm going to be honest with you, not everyone's going to love it. Just like everyone doesn't love our Saudi students having Arabic on their stoles, right? Not everyone's going to love it, but it will matter because representation matters. And there will be a child in the audience or a closeted member of the LGBTQIA community amongst the graduates who will gain confidence and will walk a little taller because they see somebody who is like them wearing it proudly as they cross the stage. So my congratulations to all of our graduates, the ones who feel comfortable wearing the cords and those who don't. In time, maybe we can create a safer space so more people feel comfortable. But our congratulations, greetings from the provost office, and we're very glad to be with you today.
Hello. At music events, this is usually when I say don't put a manager in front of a microphone, but now I'm a professor in front of a microphone, so. I want to make one correction gently because I don't want to have received a promotion I shouldn't have received, but I aim to wear one of those awesome hats someday, but I'm not a doctor, so I just want to demote myself briefly. I also do want to acknowledge Dean Beverly Keel also, which was in my plan already, but as a faculty member in the recording industry program in the College of Media and Entertainment and being an out lesbian, I can't have had a more supportive boss. And I want to just say for a moment before I bring up our speakers, being supported by your superiors. Can I call you my superior? But being supported and knowing that I could do something like this with all of you is very important. And I also want to acknowledge that as someone who's been to a couple colleges now, I don't think I ever had a professor show up and show support in the way that I'm seeing here. So I'm very moved by, I just want to welcome in particular the faculty and the administrators who are here, and all of you who have come. Thank you for coming here today. It really means a lot. I am the lucky person who gets to, so we're having two featured speakers today. One, as was referred to earlier, we have a speaker who was chosen by our graduate. Didn't do it. Don't touch the microphone. Touch the microphone. Don't touch the microphone. So our first speaker is, all I can say is we have an incredible artist, touring artist, recording artist, but even more so, one of the most intentional community leaders that I have met in my career in music business. Chris Matthews is here to speak for us today. When I found out that Chris was moving to Nashville, I thought, wow, what an incredible opportunity we have to have a leader like Chris in our community. So, Chris, thank you for being at our inaugural Lavender graduation. Thank you for wearing lavender. And please, everyone, give a warm welcome to Chris Matthews, who will provide our remarks. You're going to know how to do this, aren't you? Maybe. Let's see what we got. Got it. Sand brush. Just takes a lesbian standing beside another lesbian to make sure that. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. First and foremost, thank you so much to Michelle for the invitation to be here with you today. I had the pleasure of listening to Representative Justin Pearson's Easter Sunday sermon, during which he spoke about the significance of being an active witness. And I must tell you that getting to be here with all of you today feels like a continuation of that lesson. Now, I'm a preacher's kid myself, but I'm going to try real hard not to do a lot of preaching today. I'm also a social justice singer-songwriter, so I really can't make any promises. I came out to my mom, an AME preacher, when I was 18. If I'm being honest, I didn't come out, I was outed by my internet girlfriend at the time's mom. All I can say is it was a different time. There was no Wi-Fi. Computers were the size of smart cars. There was no Match.com, no Tinder, no Her, no social media. It was a miracle any of us made it out of that era. But somehow I had managed to meet a nice girl from Pennsylvania in a chat room. We wrote letters to each other. We spent way too much time on the phone. You see, before unlimited plans, you had to pay for long distance calls. As you can imagine, our parents were all wondering why the phone bills were so high. But her mom decided to call the North Carolina number that was showing up so frequently. Unfortunately, my mom happened to be home at the time. I was in school. It was my senior year, and when I got home that day, it was awful. But I knew that once I left Richlands, North Carolina, a town who at the time had a population of about 3,000 people, my college years were going to be incredible. I was going to live out loud, to love out loud. I would never set foot back in a closet again as long as I lived. I joined my college's LGBTQ group. I went to lots of drag shows. I took gay and lesbian studies. I watched as many indie films that reflected my love as I could find. I went to the Millennium March on Washington. If it sounded gay, I was in. I've been very fortunate. I have been an active witness with regards to LGBTQ progress in this country that I call home, from Matthew Shepard to marriage equality. Not only that, I've had the privilege of witnessing my mom's growth. Our relationship is a beautiful one. Granted, it has taken time to get to where we are today, but in the words of Maya Angelou, I wouldn't give nothing for my journey. Now that I'm mostly grown up, I get to be an active witness to these extraordinary times during which you are coming of age, as do you. The world seems to be changing at a faster pace than ever before. New technology, new opportunities, new access, and for better or worse, so many new normals. A global pandemic for one, a mass shooting in our own proverbial backyard for another. And here you are, embarking on the next chapter of your life. You, the seeds of progress, nurtured and tended to in the fertile soil of truth and curiosity, watered with imagination and ingenuity, all in the hope of a fruitful tomorrow. But as the song goes, nobody said this was going to be easy. The scientist Marie Curie said, "I was taught that the way of progress is neither swift nor easy." You know that better than most. You are, after all, a member of the LGBTQ plus community, or as my little family likes to say, LGBT quoi. Not only are you LGBT quoi, but you are out. And you are out in the South, and not just the South, but in Tennessee. I live in Nashville now, but I'm originally from North Carolina. And let me assure you, not all Southern states are identical. I'm a lesbian, but I'm a Black lesbian. So I drive my car a little slower in Tennessee and Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia and Arkansas than I do back home or in Virginia. In this current moment in history, Tennessee, a state with the audacity to have its state slogan be America at its best, is making no bones about its disdain for our community, telling us we should not, and in some instances that we cannot, exist as our fullest, truest selves, banning the expression of our gender, banning life-saving treatment and therapy, banning the teaching of our contributions to this country and the world, limiting access to various avenues through which we could learn about ourselves. It is a full-on assault, a blatant attempt to erase us, and yet, here you are, the seeds of progress. Sometimes we are so preoccupied with how far we have left to go, it can be hard to be mindful of just how far we have already come. So let us, for a moment, look back. When this university first opened its doors in 1911, women couldn't even vote. No, that right would not come until 1920. And even with that, women would still not make their presence known on campus until World War II. As you will be painfully reminded once it's time to start paying back your student loans, even higher education operates within the confines of capitalism. In 1944, MTSC, as it was known at that time, only had 20 male students compared to 180 female students. Somebody had to keep the lights on. But as is so often the case, where justice and equity begin to trickle in, rest assured that the dam holding back the waters of progress will soon break. As Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. And so nearly 2 decades later, when Mrs. Olivia Murray Woods was told by her husband that his salary alone would not be enough to put their 3 children through college, she, a Black woman, decided that she would attend Middle Tennessee State Teachers College that fall. She would be the first, but she would certainly not be the last. I was reading a dissertation from a MTSU Public History Program PhD candidate named Josh Howard, which is where I learned about Sylvester Brooks. He came to MTSU in 1968, 6 years after Mrs. Woods desegregated the school. At that time, MTSU's mascot was Nathan Bedford Forrest, a Confederate general and early leader in the Ku Klux Klan. I imagine Sylvester Brooks walking around the campus at the time and being confronted with all the painful reminders of how Black people had been and were being treated in Tennessee. I imagine him seeing Forest Hall for the first time and realizing the school he chose was paying homage to not just a Confederate general, but a Klansman. And for no apparent reason, since Forrest has no real ties to MTSU whatsoever. Now, we've already established that I'm a Southerner, so I'm doing my level best not to be too long-winded. But the story of how this particular bit of progress came to pass is a good one. And like my mama always told me growing up, you need to remember whose you are so that you don't forget who you are, which was her way of saying, don't forget the legacy of which you are a part. I can imagine what Mr. Brooks, a Black MTSU student, must have felt when he wrote an article in the campus newspaper asserting that the various tributes to Forrest were offensive and oppressive to MTSU's Black students. And one can only hope to many of the other students as well. As the late great John Lewis said, sometimes you've got to find a way to get in the way. After he spoke up, the newspaper was flooded with sympathetic responses, and a student-led campaign to remove the Forrest and Confederate symbols at MTSU was launched. Now, where else did I just see a student-led campaign to make Tennessee a little bit better? It would take until the 1970s, but eventually the mascot was changed to a hound dog named Old Blue. Progress. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I want to remind you that progress can look like a lot of things. It can be subtle and nuanced, like a mascot changing or like a school song changing, or it can be as overt as the demographic landscape changing on a college campus. You see, that Confederate legacy is only part of the story. Woven throughout the 120 plus years from inception to today, there is a legacy of change making here at MTSU. It is that same inescapable thread of mutuality that Dr. King alluded to when he said, whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly. There is a legacy of standing up and speaking out. There is a legacy of David staring down Goliath while singing a version of the old freedom song, Ain't Nobody Gonna Turn Me Around. You are a part of that legacy. You who dare to be your truest, fullest self in the face of so many saying don't be. There is a history of that here at MTSU. In 1988, Daniel Webster, John G. Weaver, and Richie Smith decided that they had had enough of the homophobic news articles appearing in the campus newspaper. Their collective outrage, along with that of the rest of the LGBT community at MTSU, resulted in the founding of MT Lambda, which became the first officially recognized LGBTQ+ student organization in the state of Tennessee. 20 students, 20. And a handful of brave, committed faculty members. MTSU went from having no organized LGBTQ representation, and if we learn nothing else in the aftermath of the Tennessee 3, it's how Tennesseans feel about having no representation, to having sexual orientation included in the non-discrimination policy on campus, to having a campus pride week, to having a full-on LGBTQ+ college conference that serves to bring together not just the community here at MTSU, but the community throughout Tennessee. Progress. I often say that if my generation can simply hold the line long enough for your generation to take the reins, we might just be all right. Your generation has come of age during some of the most racially diverse, LGBTQ affirming decades in our country's history, although you might not know it if you've only ever lived in Tennessee. You are also a generation that has grown up with active shooter drills and politicians who would rather put guns in teachers' hands than ban assault weapons. Yet through all of that, you have survived 100% of the hardest days of your life to date. You are thriving amidst what may well be the most hostile set of circumstances to loom over a single generation. And because of your resilience and determination, a world of possibilities awaits you. And so when I think about what advice I would want to leave you with, 3 phrases come to mind. Be seen. As we know, representation matters because when you can see yourself as something, it is much easier to imagine yourself being that something. Remember that being a member of a marginalized community doesn't mean you get a pass on being a good ally to someone else. I check a lot of boxes. Black, woman, lesbian, left-handed. And if I'm out there marching in these streets, fighting the good fight for justice and equity, you ought to be too. As Dr. King reminds us, human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step toward the goal requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. The tireless exertions of passionate concern of dedicated individuals. Be seen. Be heard. Hold steadfast to the notion of being an active witness. Remember the legacy of which you are a part as a member of this MTSU family. Do not be afraid of history. Let it do the job of informing what it is you do and do not want your future to look like. Be heard. And finally, be you. Be unapologetically and unwaveringly you. MTSU alum Sylvester Brooks said, "We must reevaluate our traditions to determine just how applicable they are in our modern and mass society. The day that Middle Tennessee State University first desegregated, a tradition was broken. It was discarded because it was wrong. Other traditions are equally wrong and equally outdated. Hear me when I say to you, you deserve to be your truest, fullest self. You deserve to take up space in whatever room you find yourself. You deserve to live and love in peace. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and don't you ever let anybody convince you otherwise. You don't have to change the world. You just have to keep making progress. But if each and every one of us makes as much progress as we possibly can, there's no way we won't change the world in the process. Congratulations, class of 2023. May my generation leave this world a little better than we found it, and may your generation do the same.
Thank you, Chris. That was incredible. On behalf of, I'm one for gifts of utility. So a small token of our appreciation,
Fantastic.
sweet for the oncoming summer.
Thanks so
We
much.
grant you this, and thank you so much.
True
blue, right? Thank
you.
Chris Matthews, y'all. It's like we're at a concert. Chris Matthews. Thank you for those thoughts. It occurs to me now as like, I sort of thought as we were putting together the program, I'm like, we're not going to know how this feels till we get here and are experiencing it together. And it is really moving to even take this moment of reflection on what this moment's about. I do want to welcome, so earlier, LaShawna mentioned one of the traditions, which is that the graduating students who choose to participate today got to choose a speaker, and I couldn't be happier. And so at this moment, if I could invite Will Langston to come to the stage, because I need to make sure he stays for his spotlight. He loves the spotlight. But I couldn't be more pleased to know that this student, which you're about to introduce, chose you. I think many students have chosen you for many years, even though we haven't had this celebration yet. And I want to acknowledge that and all the students yet who you have supported over many, many years. And I'm getting emotional just thinking of how poor my words are to justify or qualify for what you have done at this university for so long. sometimes in silence, sometimes shaking your hands and raising so that people will see. But I welcome you for the purpose of introducing our graduate, but I'd also really like if everyone wouldn't mind standing up and giving Will a round of applause for his work all these years at MTSU.
I've already been made to cry from the stage once today, and it is not going to happen again if I can help it, which it's going to happen again. It is an honor to be here, and I've prepared a few remarks, but I'm a little disjointed, so I'm going to do something that I detest at comedy open mics, which is reading my remarks from my phone, but I'll do the best I can. Tonight, if y'all are able to come to the awards dinner, there's room for all of you, so please make plans to come if you can. Deb Sells and I are going to have a moment for our advocacy at Headbutton over the years at MTSU. As you know, she's retiring as the Vice President for Student Affairs, and she and I have had some of that fist shaking moments have been great, but some of our best achievements have been there as well, and I want to talk about that later. But people have spoken about some things that we have done at MTSU, and I just want to echo some of the remarks. I'm so excited that you highlighted Sylvester Brooks, and if I had my way, the building that's currently called the Academic Classroom Building would be called Sylvester Brooks Hall. And we could pay to make that done, but I think the university ought to do it because it's the right thing to do and not because we paid them to do it. And if anybody wants to help me in that, it's not LGBTQ plus advocacy, but it needs to happen because what Sylvester Brooks did for this campus cannot be overstated. And the way he talks about it blows my mind based on what they went through then. And I'm so excited that you brought that up. You really did dig into MT Lambda history as well. And it's so cool to hear it repeated. I came at the end of the UEC period, the University Equality Commission, which was the drive to get sexual orientation added. And the reason that happened is because Dr. McPhee came and said, why the hell not? Okay. And like instantaneously it was done. In case you don't know, that's how that happened. And we were the first to do it in the state, and then we were the first to add gender identity or expression as well, because a student went to Dr. McPhee and he was like, well, why wouldn't we? And so those are two very significant milestones on our progress, and I want to make sure y'all hear how that went down. I want to thank the people who put this on. You made the mistake of coming into my orbit in September while I'm sucking up ideas for this conference. And you described it exactly right. If you get too close to me, I'm like, why don't you put on a session at the conference? And then I say, by the way, I'm going to let you run it. I don't want to get in your way. But I want you to remember that the LGBT plus college conference is 5-star all the time. And we do have quality standards that I'll expect you to live up to. I don't know where everybody gets the idea I'm hard to work with, but I appreciate that this is so much more than I could have imagined on my own. And honestly, I think that the two people who organized this deserve an enormous round of applause because this is incredible. And you're going to hear me say this again tonight, but the best way to be successful is to surround yourself with really successful people and let them do what they do well. And like, I'm better because I don't try to be in charge of everything. I can't thank y'all enough. This is so good. Like, I'm just blown away. Let's see. I should say that this is called a commencement because it's a beginning and not an ending. And I should say that I asked my colleagues what remarks I should make at this event, and they said, well, for sure, keep it short. And those of you who go to all the graduations know why I'm saying those things, because I used to go to every single graduation because I feel like we can get a little bit jaded grading papers and teaching classes, and we lose sight of why we're here. And when you see the first generation students take that walk, it's like, it's a moment, right? I'm tired. It's not fair to make me do this while I'm tired. But when the kids came along, I wasn't able to go as often. I haven't been doing it, but every speech starts with, it's called commencement because it's a beginning and not an end. And I wanted to be sure y'all heard that at our first ever Lavender graduation because it's important that we do remember what this is. It's a celebration of graduation. We're not actually conferring any degrees here, is what MTSU wanted me to say to you as part of this event. As Mary found out this year, I am notoriously impatient because Mary is one of the co-chairs of the Community Engagement Committee that I'm on. And I'm like, what do you mean we're working on faculty success? Let's engage the community today. And I appreciate why now we're doing the work we're doing, but a lot of people work hard at MTSU and just, you know, as you said, we proposed the idea and I'm like, let's have Lavender graduation then. Why do we have to get permission and why do we have to wait? Bring it to the conference. Let's do it, right? And I'm so excited that that paid off, that this has been so good. I'm going to make one more remark about graduation and then do I bring Zofia up? Okay. Because I know this is about Zofia too. I've been going to the MTSU football games since before the historic TSU game that opened the new stadium. And I've been saying in all those years, one of these days, these brilliant seats I've purchased on the 40-yard line are going to be, people are going to say, how did you get those seats? Because the stadium is so full and there'll be no room for us to bring our card table and pay pinochle at the football games. But I feel like we're at the start of something big that's actually going to pay out. If we just get 10 more people next year, we will beat the largest crowd at an MTSU football game last year. So I think we can set that as a goal and we can get that done if y'all want to help me do that. So I think this event is important. Zofia is representing, as you said, Michelle, a lot of students that I've worked with over the years. And it's the hard part about this job is we get to meet these great people. But if we do our job right, we send them on their way. And a lot of times they go far away. We never see them again. And it's kind of difficult. But it's also such an honor to play even a tiny part in that major change in a person's life. And I think of the people who got me here. Mary Nouse was my cognitive psychology professor who literally saved me. I had majored in psychology and then I took my first therapy class and I realized that I was not cut out to be a therapist because I don't like to listen to other people's problems. That was a shocking realization for a future psychologist. And when I took her class for cognitive psychology, she mentored me through an honors thesis and got me into a PhD program and literally made me the person I am today. And I think like I tried to thank her, but like I can't, you know, she's gone now and I can't ever repay that. And to get even to be a little piece of that is how I'm paying her back, because that's my thank you. And for LGBTQ plus students, a lot of times they face problems with familial alienation. They get their funding cut off. And when they finally achieve this, in spite of everything that people have done to stop them, there's no one there to celebrate that accomplishment. They come alone, if they come at all. And so offering this is such an important thing. And I really appreciate it. And now I'd like to call Zofia up, the current president of MT Lambda, and a close friend who actually is a participant in our Friday game nights with my group at my house every week. And I would like for you to receive your stole. Handmade and definitely LGBTQ plus college conference quality. If the conference weren't so strongly branded, we would definitely add the Q, but we have a brand. It's amazing that Taylor allowed a lavender background under the brand. Taylor Watson is a MTSU graphic arts graduate who lives in Las Vegas now, but does all the conference art. And it's so cool that you're the first one. I can't say how happy I am. The conference gives these out under very, very special circumstances. So far, we've given out 6 of these. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate thing to give our first ever Lavender graduation celebration person than this for you. Thank you very much. And congratulations.
Okay. I'm Sophia Zagowski. I'm the president of NT Lambda. If I haven't met you, haven't prepared anything. Paul's really rubbed off on me the last couple of days, so I'm going to go from the heart. Um, when I came to MTSU about 3.5 years ago, I had just came out of the closet to my mother. I had just came out to my friends. I had been working at Nissan. I had just came out, and I'd never really hung out with any queer people, any LGBT people, or anything like that. I was very closeted in high school and through the military, through my experience. And coming to MTSU and coming to Lambda really gave me a second chance. Dr. Langston has acted as a mentor to me over the last 3 years. And really, it's changed my life. It's given me a sense of purpose. It's given me a sense of direction in my life. And trying to recapture some of the spirit I had going into the military. When I went into the military, I was hoping to go to serve my country, to serve the people around me, and to do something good. I wanted to be a firefighter who helped people. And unfortunately, the discrimination that I faced in the military didn't allow that to happen. So leaving the military, coming back home, kind of feeling as if everything had fallen apart. And I was only 20 years old at the time, so I feel like my life had ended very early. Coming to MTSU was the second chance. It was the second win for me. So having MT Lambda to be a base, to be a platform for me to continue on serving people, to continue on trying to find purpose in my life and trying to find purpose in the things that I do has been nothing short of a blessing. And honestly, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done. Thank you.
Incredible. I'm sitting in that moment for just a moment because I do think you've not only been a leader for students, you've been a leader for us too. I've been in meetings with you where you have really made a difference. So thank you very much and congratulations on your graduation. Next, I would like to invite invite up Danielle Rochelle. She is the Director of Intercultural and Diversity Affairs in the Center of Student Involvement and Leadership. I had to read to make sure I got it right. Welcome.
Well, I don't have anything super special. But I wanted to thank each and every one of you for coming here today and putting this together. And I think this is so fitting that the two people who came up on stage were Dr. Langston and Sophia. I've only been in my position for, it feels like 5 years, but I started in the Intercultural and Diversity Affairs office in August. And since that time, I've gotten to know Sophia a whole lot over that time. She is one that utilizes my open door policy, and it's something that I cherish because it shows that I'm doing something right. And I think even in that meeting that we had back in September, when the Lavender graduation came up, the LGBTQIA council that we put together, it kind of happened on accident. We're talking about safe zone training, and then poof, we've got a room full of people who are ready and willing to do the work. I think at one point we called ourselves the Justice League, and that has since changed. But I think for a lot of us, every time we get together, there's an inkling in each and every one of our minds, like we are the Justice League. We are a group of those who are ready and willing to get there and do the work. And I so appreciate being a part of that group of people. And thank you for welcoming me into the fold and, allowing me to help along the way as well. So right now, I want to invite any other graduates up to the stage who want to be recognized. If you are here in the room, or if there's anybody on the Zoom today who maybe wants to be recognized. Anyone? Round of applause. So even if you are not present here on stage, you are definitely present in our hearts, and we congratulate you and we appreciate all the work that you're doing.
Yep, how to do it.
gonna go up and down 4 times. You're gonna do it. Thank you for that invitation. And I think that's, we're sort of figuring out what are the traditions here and what are not and how to do them. But I think one is always to take a moment to celebrate, students who, may or may not wish to walk or may not be able to participate. I'd also like to take a moment to celebrate MTSU students in the past who did not have an opportunity to graduate and, or we're not conferring degrees here, who have not had an opportunity to be celebrated for their achievement. And if we could just a round of applause for those students and alumni who have graduated from MTSU. Of course, we celebrate and honor all of MTSU's LGBT plus students and alumni. LGBTQI. Here, I'm keeping that. That's real good. Here or not, near and far, in person and online. Go True Blue. So everything's not going to go perfectly. I have some video greetings, which I'll send to you all and to Lambda, that did not come in time for today, but they'll be fun when they come in and we'll try to share them with everyone here. And I would like to invite LaShonda up for final reflection. We can do this and make something up on the spot. I'll stay if you want. Want me to stay with you? Yeah, okay, I'll stay. Final reflection. You really are moving fast.
I know, and
It's
I'm
impressive.
actually wearing real shoes
Yeah.
as opposed to my horrifying surgical shoes. So I'm making progress. Anyway, so I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. I know Michelle has done the lion's share of work
Oh.
and deserves the most praise because I think I would have been way too casual about this. But I'm super excited that we make this a tradition and plan for it. We did want to have some sort of final reflection or thought that we share. I think I'd like to open that up in the future through some sort of communication that we'll share with you and Lambda and see if there's some sort of pledge that queers the true blue. I don't know, but where we send you on our way. But I think it's
Yeah, like a message of we're with you and we support you. We celebrate you. Like we need a pledge. So if you have an idea, if you're a good pledge writer for this moment, this is the moment when we would all stand up and say the thing to our graduate.
what I will say is, Zofia, it takes a lot to move me to tears. I'm super proud of you. I can't imagine a better person. While I have the stage back, I will just also say, because you made a point of saying that you had, I think you said superior, which sounded a little
I
like
really
great.
love, I'm going to keep, I might,
Yeah.
like, there's something funny about that to me
Okay.
because you are my friend, but
Well,
superior.
I have an even better superior. No, I don't know. But my chair, Dr. Emily Barron, is here on the front row, and I want to celebrate that. And especially that Dr. Barron has made, I mean, I get to pass pretty easily. I'm a cisgender, white, feminine, lesbian of a certain age. So for a variety of reasons, I'm rather invisible or just walk through the world with an enormous amount of privilege. But I do try to be visible for my students as much as possible. What I didn't expect was to come to a campus where I had a chair who showed up to literally every queer thing I mentioned. And not only showed up, but brought children of her own, decked out in all kinds of queerness to celebrate whatever thing I was doing. And I've taught for 20 years and been at a lot of campuses, and I've never had that level of support. So thank you, Dr. Barron. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate that Dr. Hofschwelli is here. I appreciate that Dr. Sanford is here. I'm sorry I didn't introduce you properly. These are the things that would have kept me up tonight. So I think I've checked my list. And thank you all for celebrating Zofia and the beginnings of Lavender graduation. Oh yeah, hats. Woo!